Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buckeye Politics. It's me, your favorite Ohioan. Today, we're going to be doing an in-depth analysis from the 2022 Senate elections in Nevada, as well as the governor election in the state of Nevada. These are two races that look to be very competitive, but ones that the Republican Party probably has a slight edge in. Might be controversial that I say that, but I'm going to explain my reasoning in a second. Before that, however, I do want to remind everyone that I will be live streaming the results of the midterms live with a couple of very epic guests. We're going to have a great time. We're going to be starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, less than a week away, November 8th, 2022, starting at 6:30 p.m. EST. Do not miss it. It's going to be a very fun stream. So with that, let's get into the video. We're going to start in the Senate election in Nevada between incumbent Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto and Republican challenger Adam Laxalt. Adam Laxalt is the former Nevada Attorney General, and he ran for the governorship back in 2018, and he lost by a couple of points to Democrat Steve Sisolak, who is currently the incumbent governor. Adam Laxalt won the primary relatively easily, getting 55% of the vote, defeating Sam Brown, who was really his only challenger. Sam Brown's a veteran, and Adam Laxalt pretty much had the endorsements of Trump, a lot of mainstream Republicans. Meanwhile, Catherine Cortez Masto has all the generic Democrat endorsements, including Barack Obama, Bob Casey, Bernie Sanders, pretty much any Democrat, all the basic generic Democrats, while Adam Laxalt is endorsed by pretty much all the basic Republicans. And Laxalt is a solid candidate. I mean, he came very close to winning in a blue wave year back in 2018. His family name is huge in Nevada. Adam Laxalt's, I believe, father or grandfather was the former governor of the state, very popular back in the 1900s, or the 1990s, excuse me. And so Adam Laxalt, he was a good candidate to put up, and for a long time he had been polling pretty well, although in recent weeks the race has tightened a little bit with a couple of polls, such as this one from Phillips Academy, which I don't really count because I've literally never heard of them. They have never conducted a poll before. They kind of came out of nowhere. And I believe they're actually a high school in Nevada, if I read that correctly. I was doing some research, and I believe Phillips Academy is actually a high school. So if you really want to trust a poll conducted by high schoolers that has no track record, then yeah, you can use them. But really, other than that, and other than a poll here and there which has the race tied, Adam Laxalt seems to have a pretty solid lead. This poll from Suffolk and OH Predictive Insights, both these polls traditionally have very heavy Democratic biases. OH Predictive Insights has had most races going to the Democrats by like 10 points or so pretty much this entire cycle. And back then they actually had a poll. They actually had a poll a long time. They had a poll a long time ago where they had Catherine Cortez Masto up by like 8. They have her only up by 2 now. So it's interesting to note. And plus they have a huge Democratic leaning bias, especially in places like Arizona, Nevada. They're really not that great of a pollster. I mean, they're not horrible, but they're really not that great. They do have a pretty Democratic bias. So I kind of cast that one out the window. Also has a very small sample size with just 600 likely voters. Suffolk University, similar story, has a pretty Democratic leaning bias and also only has a race within the margin of error, and only has 500 likely voters. So again, a pretty small sample size. And you may be thinking, Matt, Buckeye Politics, you're coping. These are some polls that clearly show the race close. And yes, I do admit that there are a couple polls, such as this one from Siena Research that has the race as a dead heat, although that's kind of an interesting one. But yeah, so it's clear that this race is tightening a little bit compared to the massive lead Adam Laxalt had just about a month or two ago. However, this poll from Emerson College is what really sealed the deal. 2,000 likely voters. Perfect is a huge sample size, and they have Laxalt up by 5 in both their samples. They conducted 2 pollsters, and they have Adam Laxalt up by 5 in both of them. And now Emerson College is always a pollster that I trust, but especially in Nevada. If we go back to the 2018 governor election, this is the 2018 governor election. This was a race that Republicans were actually estimated to win. Adam Laxalt, as you can see, was the nominee for governor. He lost by very narrowly to Steve Sisolak, and the polls are going back and forth, very similar to the ones we have now here in the Senate race. Senate race, the polls are going back and forth. Governor race in 2018, the polls were going back and forth. But let's see, the Emerson College conducted just a few days out from the election, had a very large sample size compared to the rest of the pollsters, was the most accurate. They had Steve Sisolak defeating Adam Laxalt by 1 point. Steve Sisolak went on to win by about 3 or so. Emerson College is the gold standard of polling in the state of Nevada. During the 2020 election, when everyone said Biden would win Nevada by like 5, 6, 7 points, Emerson College had Biden winning it by 2. He won it by 2. Emerson College is the gold standard of polling in Nevada, and they have Adam Laxalt up by 5. When you contradict that with their large sample sizes compared to the biases of these pollsters, and as well as some of them we've never even heard of before, then it's pretty clear Adam Laxalt has a solid lead. He's maintained a lead in pretty much all the aggregates. 538 gives Catherine Cortez Masto a very slim lead, but 538 is hugely biased towards the Democrats. I would not trust them. to do anything. RCP is a little bit more accurate, Real Clear Politics. They have Laxalt winning by about 1.2. I think he does a little bit better than that. I think Adam Laxalt is going to win by about 2 points or so. I think he's clearly favored. I mean, if you look at all the polls that are reputable, like Emerson, Trafalgar, you could even say CBS News to an extent, Rasmussen, they all have Adam Laxalt leading by pretty sizable margins. And sure, there might be some sort of Captain Cortez Masto surge, but in the end, I do think Adam Laxalt wins this race by a couple of points. We'll come over here and look at the governor election, where we have incumbent Democrat Steve Sisolak taking on the Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo. Now, Joe Lombardo is a pretty interesting nominee. On the surface, he seems very Trumpian. I mean, he is a sheriff. He's endorsed by Trump. He's ran a pretty good campaign in terms of being very tough on crime. But on a couple of issues, he's actually a little more moderate, which makes me think he's the perfect fit for the state of Nevada. Lombardo is not going to be some sort of crazy conservative warrior, but he's going to help get Nevada back on track, and that's really all we care about when it comes down to it. He's pretty much led in every single poll, like I said, other than a couple polls here and there, such as one from Phillips Academy, which is a huge outlier, and this one from OH Predictive Insights, which, as I've said, has a Democratic-leaning bias, as well as a smaller sample size. He's led in every single poll by pretty huge margins. I mean, he's outperforming Laxalt, which was a surprise. I think the big reason for this is that Steve Sisolak is just despised by a lot of Nevadans. I mean, he was actually a relatively popular governor for the longest time. That's how Steve Sisolak beat Adam Laxalt back in the governorship in 2018. However, he's kind of gone downhill. He shut down Nevada because of COVID, and Las Vegas being a very commercial and tourist location. Having your state shut down is probably not the smartest move. A lot of people did not like the lockdowns. Education and crime has also soared under Steve Sisolak. And Joe Lombardo, when you think about it, is really the perfect candidate to take on Steve Sisolak. I mean, the Nevadans are pissed at this guy because he shut down the state and is hurting Las Vegas. Joe Lombardo was the sheriff of Las Vegas, or at least the county that Las Vegas was in. He was elected there several times. He's clearly well liked there. Nevada's crime is out of control. Joe Lombardo was a sheriff. Like Nevada's education is pretty rocky. Joe Lombardo has a pretty good education platform, and when you really look at it, it makes sense why Joe Lombardo is polling so well. Steve Sisolak is barely getting 45%, and as an incumbent, that is horrible. As an incumbent, you should be getting close to 50%. I mean, you have the name recognition, you've won an election statewide before, and hopefully you've done a pretty decent job. If you're only polling at 44, 45%, you're probably not doing very well. There are also a lot of undecideds. Undecideds are going to break for the Republican Party. That is just a fact. If you look at how these midterm elections work, they usually break for the party not in power, and also a lot of these undecideds have unfavorable views of Joe Biden. Because of that, I do believe Joe Lombardo is going to win pretty handily in the state of Nevada, probably by about 4 points or so. Wouldn't be surprised if he won it by more, in all honesty. I think Steve Sisolak has done a pretty poor job, and Joe Lombardo is hopefully going to turn Nevada around. So with that, thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe for more.